Welcome to Now Dig This. My name is Mad Max. I'm off the camera right now, and today we're interviewing Teddy from Teddy Spaghetti Records. Man, what's up, man?
Hey, what's happening, Max?
Man, so tell me about Teddy Spaghetti, man. Well, tell me about Spaghetti Records. How did it start? How did you start? Take me from the beginning.
Sure. I started Spaghetty Town Records in almost 10 years ago,
Okay.
and it really came about. I had an accident and was taking a lot of painkillers, and thought it would be what a great time and great idea to do a record label. What's something you've always dreamed of, and that probably really came from when I was younger. I worked at a rock radio station. I worked at a major record label. I worked in a PR firm. I worked at music.com. I'd been out of the game a long time, and I guess I was still a little hungry to get back, get a toe in the water.
So what was the first thing that made you fall in love with rock and roll music and the whole music industry?
I grew up in the 80s,
Mhm.
and I started getting into music in the 80s, and that was early days of MTV, and it was probably just everything. Those guys and girls were having the greatest time, living the life, partying, playing shows, and it looked incredible, and that probably, piqued my interest.
What was the first live show that you ever been to?
Oh, it was 1991. It was Guar at a punk club that I grew up near called City Gardens in Trenton, New Jersey. And it was, looking back, I was how old was I? About 14. And looking back and knowing what I know, I can't believe my parents would allow me to go, A, to see Guar, B, to this club in Trenton. It was in a really, really bad neighborhood. It's a terrible, terrible part of Trenton. And, but somehow I convinced them it would be okay. It would be okay. And I guess it was okay.
Was it a life-changing experience for you?
Oh, everything. I mean, just being in line, you get butterflies in your stomach, and you walk into this crazy rock club, and I was afraid to use the bathrooms, but you're excited and nervous all at the same time. And then live music, the show on a club level is a whole different experience.
So take me back to all right, those '90s eras of rock and roll clubs and venues and stuff. How different is it from back then of how it is nowadays?
It's not that. I mean, that different. I'd say the most obvious thing is we didn't have the internet then.
Yeah.
And I was telling a friend, we used to get postcards in the mail. Like, you'd sign up for a mailing list with your home address, and once a month, a band would send you a postcard of their upcoming shows for the next 2-3 months. And during COVID or quarantine, I started going through old files, and I found a file folder full of dozens and dozens of postcards from bands, handwritten postcards addressed to me. And again, you're 15 and you're getting letters from bands you really, mail from bands that you think are cool, and you're like, there's someone in the band wrote, who wrote my postcard.
That's pretty cool. That's very unique,
Yeah.
And that type of stuff lasts forever too, like postcards and that's a crazy way of advertising. I never even heard about that before. People of record companies and bands sending you personal, handwritten notes, and just imagine them writing that type of stuff all through the country.
I remember too, if you wanted a catalog, or if you wanted a CD or record from small time band, you'd have to send cash in the mail, and you have to put it between 2 note cards and hope no one stole it. And then maybe 3 weeks later, you'd get your CD or cassette back in the mail, and every once in a while it just wouldn't arrive, and you're like, well, someone pocketed my $10 somewhere along the line.
So what was your first CD or cassette, or what's a memorable CD, cassette, or?
When I was really young, I was really, really into Van Halen. And I remember I just went to the mall once, and I had birthday money or Christmas money. I bought a whole bunch of Van Halen cassettes. I remember that.
The singles or the albums?
Cassettes, albums.
Yeah.
Wait, not the singles. Yeah, it was definitely an album.
I miss cassettes. I miss the long play. You just press play and let the whole thing run through.
There's still a cassette thing going on. It's weird. I was talking to someone at a record store here in Atlanta, and they tell me how they sell cassettes, and I was like, I don't have a cassette player. I haven't had one in decades. And they're like, we sell cassette players too. But they were saying people are into cassettes, and I was trying to tell them how I thought it was I didn't love the format, because cassettes had a shelf life. If you left them in your car, they would warp, they get wore out, they snapped. And then I had to back up and go, okay, also vinyl isn't also the greatest format either. You need a flat surface, you need a turntable. You can't let it get too hot. Like it's the same kind of trials.
Yeah, you can't put it in the car or anything.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, with cassettes, you can always pop them in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
If you're making your road trip playlist.
right on. Yeah, those are the days of like making playlists and stuff like that.
I remember girls I was interested in. You'd be like, I made this mixtape for you.
Little Mr. Romantic. All right, so Spaghetti Records, next year is going to be your 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
So 10 years is a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah. So take us back to year one of you starting this record company.
So at first you're like, I'm doing this record company. I have a name, and what do I got to do? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna lock down the website and lock down the social medias. And then the real problem is, oh wait, I need a band. Like I need to find a band to release, and find a band that'll agree to work with me, and that is probably the hardest. And it's something that you believe in too. Like what band doesn't have a label, or what band's in between labels or something.
So who was your first band that you signed?
So there's this band named Motosierra out of Uruguay, and I was at a friend's house, and they're Peruvian, and they were playing me some cool South American rock and roll, and they played this band Motosierra. And I was like, this band's incredible. Like, how come I've never heard of them? This is exactly what I like to listen to. Like, how's this not been on my radar? So I just started randomly messaging them, like, are you guys still active? Are you, recording? Are you interested? And they were kind of like, yeah, they're like, we're thinking about doing something, and we've never released in the States. So
they were based out of Uruguay.
Yeah, in South America.
Oh, so they've never been to America?
No, never been to America. Okay. They've done Europe and all over South America.
Nice. All right, so you messaged them, and they're like interested in your.
Yeah, they're like, it's something we might be interested in. And I was like, well, I'm interested if you're interested. And we just started our relationship from there. A lot of messaging, a lot of emailing, and then one day they're like, we're going to the studio next week.
So how does that work? So with your record company, do you fund their recordings, or how did that work?
It's funny. A producer once reached out to me, like, hey, just so you know, here's my rate for my my daily rate. If you ever have a band that wants to record, and I was like, I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah. And you were just starting off with your.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, I'm like, dude, I am scraping together pennies right now. So what's my role?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do all the physical production of product, all your promote.
This is what you told that first band.
Yeah, I was like, I will, do any promotion on radio or print or media, any media promo, and
you have to put your own money in that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I will pay to produce physical product.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, we don't have a contract, but I'm like, I don't own like any music. Like I don't own the music. I think when artists hear like, I don't want to own it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't pay for it. It's not mine. You wrote it.
Yeah.
They're put a little bit more at ease. I'm like, I just own like what I paid for, which in this case was just the 7-inch.
The 7-inch vinyls.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're basically working on like a consignment deals type of thing where they record all their own music, they do all of that, and you're doing the advertising and marketing and distribution.
Yeah, so you're putting your money in it, and you're the whole time trying. You want to market and promote, and you want to see the band do well, but you also you want to recoup.
Yeah.
You do want to see you want to at least break even on the money you put down.
So how was it with your first go around with this band?
The record was cool, but it's a learning experience. Like I was saying to you off camera, like you learn things that you look back and go like, oh, I wouldn't have done this, or I would have done it this way, or I would have spent money on this and not on that.
So what would have you made different about that first deal?
I would have gotten I exclusively had that record for worldwide, and I would have had a partner in another country, another continent.
To help distribute?
Helps distribute, it cuts costs. They also help promote. This band sings in Spanish. I'm not Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know like the Spanish language, like websites or like rock outlets.
Right.
So it would have been smarter of me to have someone who spoke Spanish and knew like Spanish language rock.
So the first band you ever signed was in a whole different language in a whole different country that you know nothing about.
They had some records in English, and I was like, "Can you guys give me something in English? Like that would be great for me." and they were like, we can, but like Spanish works better for us.
Yeah.
And how can you argue with a guy whose first language is Spanish?
Right.
And Spanish does still work well for rock and roll,
Yeah.
but just some people, I don't know if they're missing something, or they're like, I'm not interested in
Spanish
music in
has a
Spanish.
huge culture in making live records, you know, with instruments and everything like that. Like, I mean, everything from mariachi to punk bands.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
all throughout South America. Like, they are very big in live music.
Super passionate about music,
Yeah.
even just for rock music, like in Latin or South America, like Rock in Rio will have 100,000 people there.
Right.
100,000 people. It's crazy.
All right, so you released this first album
Mm.
under Spaghetty Town Records, and how many records did you press up on your first go around?
500. It was 500.
Yeah,
And also in the back of my head, I was like, it's only 500. That's going to be easy.
yeah.
It'll be easy to move.
How
And-
was
and-
it?
It's hard. It's hard work. And the other thing you forget too, like all the extra costs early on of, oh wait, now I have to buy like all the packing materials. Now I have to put everything in the mail. I forgot like this website takes a cut of the profit. This, PayPal takes a cut of the profit. And after you start getting down to it, you're like there's a lot of people taken from the till in this one, before you get done with it.
Yeah,
And also like website stuff too. Like I changed some things on the site I was selling, and then it like deletes all your old information.
mm-hmm.
So if you were to say like how many did you sell, I don't even know that. I don't know the number anymore.
Wow.
Like I can kind of see like at a point where I changed it and the forward, but not the early stuff.
All right. So after your first band, what was your next move?
So you kind of get that under your belt, and you're feeling good. Like I figured out how to press a record.
Yeah.
Like all the we were talking like you have to have your record mastered differently.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the whole remastering thing. So a lot of people don't know this, but for you to you could have a master digitally, but to master in vinyl, you have to get it remastered for vinyls.
So when you get a record made, like they'll say what are you using it for?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to say I'm using it for streaming, it's always I'm going to use it for streaming, and then I'm going to press it to vinyl. I might do a CD, and so that'll add a little bit of money each time because the guy has to tweak it a little bit, or the mastering person tweaks it a little bit for each format because the requirements are just a little bit different and it's heard differently.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine because vinyl, it all goes by the little needle. So if things are too hard or too loud, the needle will jump.
And it'll just sound bad too. Like it'll sound incorrect. Like you'll realize something's off.
Right.
And same if you put a vinyl master onto your streaming outlet, like it's going to sound a little bit off.
Right.
Like there'll be something weird that I don't understand. There's something strange. So yeah, you're going to get it mastered for multiple formats at the same time.
Yeah. So what is a memorable band from your early days that have taught you some lessons about the record company?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, everything's a little bit memorable. Every band's a little bit memorable. I think it was my next release was a band out of New York called the Sweet Things, and that was a more traditional rock and roll band. And
when you say traditional rock and roll, do you mean like Americana? Like
it was like a New York punky,
rock?
not punk, but punky.
Yeah.
Had a little bit more edge.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started getting a little more traction working that record. I started actually getting a little bit more radio play
because you understood the language.
And I knew I knew who the players were.
Right.
Yeah, I knew who some of the people were.
Yeah.
They sent me the nicest, most well-written email. Yeah, I was like, this is a really well-written email. It's so friendly. And then I was reading it and I was like, I know two of the guys in this band. And they sent me the song and I was like, yeah, this song is killer. The song was the song "Love to Leave" is just a great. It's commercial enough, but still is edgy enough, and it was cool. That one is I started getting more traction. I got some cool commercial radio play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was.
So how does that come about? How do you get like a punk rock band that's really unknown onto a radio station?
So a lot of radio stations will have like a local show or an indie show or an unsigned band show, and that's when you have to start really researching. Like you start spending your time of trying to find writers who would be interested in, hearing that kind of band, DJs who might be interested in hearing that. So you're going to spend a lot of your time. That's actually you spend your time online trying to find like their contact information, whether it's like their email or physical address. So when the time comes, you can reach out to them and be like, hey, like, nice to meet you. I have this record label, I have this band. Sounds like this. Recommend if you like this. Would love for you to check it out. And then you hope that doesn't go into spam.
Yeah.
And then some people check it out, and eventually, you start noticing every week, like, oh, I got a review, a review in this magazine, or I got a review at this cool website, or this DJ like played it. Like I think that's when you started figuring things out better. And I also started making detailed lists of like all the contact informations. So now when I put something out, like I probably had 50 names of DJs and writers. Then I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contacts now.
Yeah, because you built up that reputation throughout the years.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing for bands too. Is like that's just not what they do. They're not out there trying to find media contacts. Where I'm like, I've spent the last 10 years like trying to find media contacts.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the key things that people don't realize about a record company is it's not just the pressing the record and making it look cool, is all the behind the scenes work that you have to do to it. Like you said, like contacting DJs, contacting radio stations, contacting publicists and magazines and so forth. What is the furthest place that any of your records got played where you were just like, whoa, they listen to my stuff over here?
We were in an Italian print magazine. Like it was like someone found it and emailed it to me. And I'm like, that's a print. It was like a classic rock magazine or something, but classic rock is kind of broad now. I'm like, we got a review in Italian, and I got to find someone to translate this for me now. Like I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
But it's also a print magazine. Like print magazines have kind of gone out of fashion in the States, but Europe is still kind of into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. I mean, like you would never imagine like somebody's listening or watching your stuff all around the world somewhere,
It's kind of cool too. Like if you look, like you can look in your analytics for when you put a song out or a record out, like in Spotify, and you can see like where it's getting played, and sometimes you can be like we're big in Spain. Like wow, like that's just I don't know how it happened, but like, that's awesome.
So how does the distribution work? Like, let's say you sign a band, right? And you guys work out a deal with you distributing their music and stuff like that. So let's say you worked for that record to get radio play. Do your company make a percentage off of that radio play, or you guys just focus on like vinyl tapes and CDs?
We're really focusing on like the physical product, which I always forget too. Like it gets delivered to our office, and then I'm like, I now have 500 records in boxes here, and now I have 262 orders that I have to put in the mail.
Yeah.
And I was telling someone, they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, you spend the next every spare moment you have like packing up records and putting them in the mail.
Yeah, printing the labels and everything.
Running to the post office every day, which is like a huge box of stuff to drop off, like weighing and printing address labels.
Yeah. So how does it work out with you distributing the records and the artists? Do y'all do like a 50-50 deal? Do y'all do like 70-30?
So there's a traditional cut that I had to I talked to some bands and talked to other label friends, and usually the band will typically take 20% of the physical product.
Okay, that's not bad.
So,
but you have to put in the money for the printing goods and
yeah. So we put up all the money, and then they'll get their 20%, and then they can buy more if they need more. So if I printed 500, they'll get 100. It'll get shipped to their house. It'll show up on their doorstep.
Right.
And sometimes when bands are on the road a lot, they'll be like, send me another 100, and we'll pay you after the tour. And
now, give me an estimate of how much it costs to print a record. Let's say 1,000 records. I want to print out 1,000 records.
It's varied.
Yeah.
It's varied. The cost, and with COVID, the cost of everything went up. But I remember at one point I could do it for like $7 or $8, and now it's more like $10 or $11.
So $10 or $11 it costs to make the actual thing. And so how much would you have to resell it for to make a decent amount of profit?
So I try to keep it low, just because I'm a record buyer too.
Yeah.
And then like an artist once was not complaining. He commented how he thought the price was too low online to buy it, and I was like, dude, I have to buy mailers, and mailers are like $1.50. I'm like, PayPal's going to take their cut. Like my online distributor takes their cut, and mail I have to pay for. It's like almost almost $6 to send a record in the mail now. And I'm like, so all these things add up, and like before you know, oh, and you know, the person's gonna be paying taxes.
Hmm.
So if they buy for $20, it's gonna be another $8 on top of it.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, getting close to what it would be in a store.
Yeah.
You know, that records are now like $30 in a store.
Oh, okay. So a record is about $30 in
A
stores.
new, yeah, major label records in the $30 range.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm trying to keep it fair, but
Yeah.
like trying to recoup at the same time.
And nobody actually even thinks about the actual time that it takes you to do all this.
It's so much time.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me 10 years ago, like, how much time is it? You know, is this going to take out of your life? And I would have been like, no, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And I was like telling a friend once, I was like, no, dude, you come home, you answer, you know, you come home from work, you answer emails, you're emailing bands, you're following up with people. I'm like, and that's just when there's something happening.
Yeah.
Like when there's stuff like a record coming out or about to come out, I'm like, you are, yeah, emailing DJs and radio stations and writers and trying to line up interviews and also trying to corral the artist. Like, I need you to do this Zoom interview at this time on this day.
Yeah.
Like, are you available? And then you're texting them like, dude.
So you wear a lot of hats, because I mean that sounds like some management role right there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of babysitting.
Yeah, babysitting manager role. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it off camera. Like, there's usually one person in the band who's the go-to responsible person, but then sometimes there's no one in the band who's the go-to responsible person.
Yeah, so you start putting on that hat for it.
Yeah, then you're doing everything. Then you're doing. I mean, even sometimes like you email a band, you know, let's update your press kit. You know, can we get some photos? And like the concept of getting photos is a foreign concept. And luckily, I'm like, in this day and age, I'm like, just get your iPhone.
Yeah.
Go like stand in a hallway, stand in a bathroom, stand in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they're like, oh, we have to get the whole band together. I'm like, you can do it you do it in your practice space.
Right.
Like, you just need, you know, the four of you guys together and a decent photo.
Yeah.
You know, your iPhone's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But, you know,
we'll edit the picture and everything later.
Yeah. Like, just send me something. Give me something.
Yeah. Have you ever been on tour with any of these bands?
I have done short runs.
Yeah.
Short run.
What was the furthest place you ever been to?
I've done the East Coast. I've gone up and down the East Coast with people. Yeah. I mean, so not in their van, but like following in my own vehicle.
Right.
And it's not, I mean, I guess it's probably fun if you're playing. It's fun for me because I don't have to work.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm sure you still got to try to sell the records.
Yeah. And you're still, you know, corralling a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like they play the show, you hang out, have some drinks, go to bed, get up in the morning, and then you drive to the next place.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little hungover, you know, and then you roll to a venue, load back in. You know, it's kind of the same process.
So tell me a story that you had with one of these bands at some weird little place or local bar, or, you know, give me something.
There was a funny story. This band was playing a show, and it was around...
What was the band?
Sweet Things. It was the Sweet Things.
So this is the second
release.
Yeah.
They were playing a show in, I think it was Richmond, and it was Halloween, and you know, there was probably, you know, there wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't very crowded. And then like right before they went on, the room just filled in, packed. I mean, really, it was a small room, but it was a packed room. They played a cool show. People bought merch, and we were trying to figure out, like, when they were done, it just cleared. Mm-hmm. And we were done. We were trying to figure out what was happening. We were talking to the club people, and they're like, it was just a party of people walking by. They're like, it was like 40 people in like a bachelorette party or something walking by, and they just decided to come in and didn't care about paying a cover charge. And I'm like, well, it's great because, you know, everyone got paid, everyone had a good time, and
it filled the room at the last second and everything.
Yeah, it was. We were like, where do these people come from? Like, I don't even care where these people came from. Like, they're all here. They're having a blast. They're buying drinks. The bar's happy. The band's happy.
How does a band like promote shows when they're on tour? Like, so how does that work?
When they're on the road, I mean, it's a build up also. Like, because before you go on the road, you want to plug and promote as much as possible. Mm-hmm. You get on people's radar. They don't want to find out the day before that you're in their city. And this is a thing I've told a lot of bands, and most of them understand, and some don't understand. Like, you know, social media is annoying and frustrating, but it's a free-ish tool and kind of necessary evil if you want to reach a lot of people at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably better than, you know, imagine if these bands had to send postcards to these towns and people pass out flyers and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. When I worked at a major, there'd be street teams of like college kids who'd go to shows or like-minded, similar shows, handing out flyers and handing out like cassette singles to people leaving the show. And Like I kind of was like, I wish we still did that. And like no one would care.
Yeah.
No, like I remember just having flyers like hung up on the wall or on my fridge.
Yeah.
Um, but it's social media. That's really seems to be the best way. Word of mouth.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the best thing you can do I try to tell everyone like this is really free. If you really like a band, you really like a record, tell someone about it.
Right.
Like I saw this band, they were awesome, or I heard this record, it is awesome. I think you'll dig it. Doesn't cost anything, and maybe they'll dig it and tell someone else. I mean, that's really how growing an artist organically. Like your fan base is real. It's not just people who want to be seen or it's the place to be that night. Like they made a special trip to come and see you
Yeah.
because they are into what you're doing.
I always say that like you'll be so surprised of how like people's music impacts your life, or a song, like sometimes like but as a musician, a lot of them don't realize that they have fans, but if you don't, show your stuff on social media or platforms like ours on Now Dig This, like
Yeah,
nobody would know about them. Nobody would know about this all incredible music and songs and everything like that unless you got some kind of like media reach or output, like radio, TV, stuff like that. I would say like it's so important to advertise your music and to just put it in people's face as much as you can.
and I can tell. So yeah, some bands or musicians are like, Instagram's so lame or Facebook's lame, and I'm like, I know,
Yeah,
but it's free.
yeah,
Like people use it, people look at it, and like how else are you going to reach them? Just hope they show up and heard about you.
yeah.
I had an artist was telling me they were on a tour, like a cross country tour, and they were playing like Kansas on like a Wednesday night. It was like Wichita or something. And I was like, how'd that go? And they were like, it's fine. It was cool. And they're like, but the people who came out were really, really into it. Like it like made their week. Like they were so happy. Like they're going to buy merch. They're going to tell their friends about it. They're like, we played, it wasn't super crowded, but like the people who they were like, they loved it. Like we changed someone's we made their week.
Yeah,
Like we stopped in their small town and played a show,
yeah.
and everyone had a good time.
Yeah, there's got to be a way for like when you go to these small towns and stuff like that. Like I would suggest for people to like try to get people's email addresses and stuff like that. So like next time you're dropping an album, you could just send them an email blast, or you can tell them to follow you on social media. So
And it's so easy. It's
yeah,
so easy to do an email blast.
yeah, exactly.
Like even with me, like I try to do one. I don't want to be the guy who sends an email once a week, but I'll send like a blast once a month to like my email list.
Like
You know,
new albums coming out
hey,
and
here's
stuff
some
like that.
news. This person's on tour. This record's coming up. This video's out. Check it out. And usually that day you'll see a bunch of like a random sales come through.
Mhm.
You know,
So what is one of the biggest bands that you have signed to Spaghetti Town Records?
I mean, locally on a localish level, like Rambler,
Uh-huh.
like he has played Now Dig This.
I love Rambler.
Rambler, great live band,
Yeah,
great songs, but we've sold out of nearly 2 pressings of that,
nice.
which was cool. Ravagers, those guys are from Baltimore. Actually, Alex from Ravagers used to be in Rambler.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Really?
yeah, in the early
What,
days.
what did he play?
Guitar.
Guitar.
He was a guitar player.
So he went from Rambler to Ravengers?
He was doing Ravagers and started doing Rambler like on the side for fun. Like
Mhm.
he's like, I like this band. The songs are cool. They're all my buddies. Like, let's do another thing. And then I think just was like, okay, I also have my own band. I probably should be focusing more on my own band.
Yeah.
But we did 2 pressings of that record. They played Punk Rock Bowling. They just finished a tour with Super Suckers. Like they're out there, like working really hard. And
Nice.
like we did a live record, which is weird that we even had a live record. It sold out so fast.
Nice. So they got a good following going on.
And those guys work really, really hard.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're out there promoting, taking advantage of social media, doing interviews, are available.
Yeah. So have you ever ran into like an issue where, let's say, oh, this happened at this nightclub, one of the band members gets arrested or something,
Yes,
Yeah. Tell me a story about that.
there was an. I woke up one day and I had like a bunch of like texts and emails about an incident the night before,
Where at?
Texas,
Uh-huh.
and
Some
and
weird town in Texas or a big city?
big city.
Yeah.
and I don't know all the details, and I wasn't there, and I got a lot of bits and pieces. But someone in a band was drunk. He, someone tried to hit someone in the crowd with a mic stand, like
Hmm.
mic stand, and he missed and hit the person next to them.
Oh,
Yeah, which is, I mean, the whole thing's a disaster.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I got a lot of calls about that. And eventually, when I got them on the phone, I had to like talk the band through it, do things to do and don't do,
Yeah.
like don't go online right now and try to explain anything that happened.
Were
Like,
the police called?
I don't think the police were called.
Oh, that's good.
I think they got banned from that club.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got, yeah, shockingly got banned from that club.
Yeah.
And I believe, not I believe, and I know the person involved in the incident is now sober,
That's good.
which it seemed like it was a better life choice for them.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while. I think they've been sober for a while. And it sounds like it was a better life choice.
Is that a common thing for bands to get banned out of clubs?
I don't think anymore.
Hmm.
I know, like I read stories about the '80s and '90s. Like if you were playing a club and you trashed the dressing room, that club owner would call the club owner that you're playing the next day and be like, "These guys suck. They trashed my dressing room. Like they owe me money. I wouldn't have them at your club."
Yeah.
So I knew that was a thing. But now, again, with social media, it would just be so easy to be like, "This band, here's the damage they did."
Yeah.
You know,
And they start suing and all that.
yeah.
Lawsuits come.
Yeah, so I think a lot of bands now, the scenes are too small
Hmm.
now with the internet and computers that they're a little more careful.
Yeah, but I'm sure, like I mean, it's a bar. After somebody gets intoxicated enough, a fight to break out, or you got hecklers out there, and so and then you're playing, punk rock music,
Yeah,
so that energy and that like full like nostalgia going through your body and everything like that. And I mean, who knows what people go through on their daily basis to just let go of all of that stress and energy, and you come in there to like pop your head and just rock out.
yeah. I think clubs now are more careful about that kind of stuff. Like you can't have they don't want lawsuits.
Yeah.
Things start to get out of control. I think most clubs are going to shut it down. And I don't like the clubs I remember going to when I was younger. Like they were really divey and unsafe and questionably legal. I don't think they really exist anymore. Like it's just too much. Everything's under a microscope now.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. So when I see a punk rock band, or tattoos and just drinking, or doing whatever they're doing, I think about, man, these guys are just lawless. These guys are just lawless.
They're always the nicest guys.
Yeah. Right.
Always the nicest guys. Like we were talking about a friend of ours earlier, and they're like, yeah, when you see him with the face and neck tattoos and kind of dressing a little funky, like you'd be like, what's up with this guy? And when you meet him, he's the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Like would help you if he could, like
Right.
help you in any way. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure someone's gonna watch this and go like, well, this place and this story and this band, but so I don't think that's the scenes are different now. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
people are. I think they're more. They want to support each other and lift each other up. And
Yeah.
I always try to tell other bands too, like if it's good for if it's good for the scene, like it's good for all of us.
Right.
Like it helps everyone. Like the genre of rock what I'm doing isn't like the most popular type of music right now,
Yeah.
but like everything we can do to kind of lift it up, like get everyone involved to help everyone is huge.
You know what I've noticed over the last like 3 years, ever since like COVID's kind of like dying out, and we rebooted Now Dig This. I really feel like rock and roll has been growing so much over the last like 3 years. Like people are really interested in rock and roll, live music. It's just like a whole like the '80s, '90s feel is coming back to
I
life.
think there was such an absence for like of live music for so
Mhm.
long. And I remember when shows started coming back around, like I was telling friends, like we have to go out and support now. It's been 2 years
Yeah.
of like these clubs struggling, these bands struggling, all the guys in like who work in the crews or guys in like recording studios. Like, we really gotta let's stop complaining about ticket prices and the prices
Yeah.
of beer and go out and like support these guys. I have friends who are like, tech professionally or for a living. Those guys were hurting for years.
Yeah, man.
It's like limited work, not a lot going on. So like getting back on the road was a big deal.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I really love how like all these new bands are popping up, and we have people from all across the world that's interested. And here in Atlanta, we have a small local scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in somebody else's eyes, they're like, oh my god, these guys are doing their thing.
A lot of bands I know from Europe, when they come over, they always want to play the Star Bar
Yeah,
specifically. They're like,
yeah,
oh, we want to play the Star Bar.
yeah,
We see the videos on YouTube. We saw like
yeah,
Rambler play there. We saw Ravagers. We saw Wildlife. That
yeah,
place looks incredible. Like
yeah,
I watched Biters videos from there,
yeah.
and then they get there for load in during the day, and they're like, oh, and we're like, no, it's cool. Like it's just it's 5 o'clock and the
Yeah,
sun's out and there's no one here. We're
yeah,
like, trust me, like this place is gonna be killer. And
yeah.
I'm like, you guys watch Star Bar videos on YouTube in Spain? Like, this is mind blowing.
Right, mind blowing. And it's been like very like eye opening to me how much local places have been opening up lately. Me and you talked a little bit about the underground Atlanta, and
Yeah,
underground Atlanta has been like just growing its scene in live music.
and it was dead for so long.
Yeah,
Like just a ghost town. And
yeah,
like if I go to Masquerade now, I've noticed like, the other little things popping up in there, and I'm like, there's stuff happening again.
yeah. Masquerade. I mean, we got Smith's Old Bar. We have
Or the
Five Two
Earl,
Nine, the
yeah,
Earl.
529.
And that's just the inside the city of Atlanta. But then you got places in Tucker, you got
Yeah.
places in McDonough. Like if you're a local band, you could really do like a whole 285 tour of different places.
I had a bunch of friends started playing Moonshadow Tavern in
I
Tucker,
love
which
Moonshine.
I was like, what? That's so strange. And they're like, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Blackstrap Music Hall in Gainesville.
yeah,
Like, yeah, some cool stuff. People are getting back into it.
yeah. There's a place called I think Southern Roots in McDonough that I've told people about it and they've never heard of it or anything, but it's a really nice spot, man. They have a huge stage, like it's a restaurant in the daytime, and they
Yeah.
just rock out doing shows. And like a lot of like bands and stuff like that, they don't take the time out to do their research and hit up these places and stuff like that because they're just like, well, we'll just wait for these venues to call us.
Yeah. I was talking to a lot of bands I work with, specifically if they're in major cities. I'm like, you can't just play your city once a month.
Hmm.
Like if you're in New York, go play Boston, go play Philly, go play Jersey. Like you could hit these on a weekend. It's not going to interfere with your job. Yeah, if you're in Atlanta, yeah, you can go to McDonough and play a show.
Yeah,
You could go to Chattanooga.
yeah,
Like it's really easy to go to Birmingham. You can
yeah.
blast out and do other shows around
Go to
you.
Savannah for one day.
Absolutely.
Savannah. I always tell people like I think this is like a market that a lot of people don't tap in, but like Destin, Florida, Fort Walton, Florida. It's only a 5 hour drive, and there's like such a scene there that's like urging for this music.
I was gonna say, yeah. I know there's people into rock music in Florida, and it's a
Yeah,
big deal if a band comes out because
yeah,
just not that many people come down.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, for you as a record company, do you try to encourage these bands and your artists to like go to these new venues or venues that you never heard of before? How do you even find these places?
I mean, so I try to tell every band that to get out there and play shows. Like the records that have been the most successful for me are bands that have hit the road.
Hmm.
Like whether they're doing like just the East Coast all the time, if they've done the country, if they're doing the Midwest, like those bands are people talk about them, they meet other people, they make friends, people are buying records, people are streaming. That I think that's what it is. They're talking to other people in other bands, going, "Have you played this place?
Yeah,
Do you know about this club?" There's a guy, this rocker guy we know in West Virginia. He has a club in his basement,
that's cool.
and he lives in a country area, and he will pay bands to come and hang out and play shows in his basement. All the local people show up. He has a stage, he has a bar, he has lighting trusses and amps and everything. And all these bands are like, at first they're like, we're playing in a guy's basement in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. And then after a while, everyone goes, you should go play in this guy's basement in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. Like they're super nice. They take care of you. You play to new people. It's a fun day. It's not a day off, but it's a fun thing to go do.
Yeah,
Um, and
and
I
he
kept,
pays, and you can sell records.
yeah. He'll take care of you. He'll feed you, put you up.
Yeah,
And that was a weird thing. I kept seeing bands I knew playing this place, and I'm like, I don't understand what this is. Someone has to explain this to me? And they told me, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then that guy came to Atlanta and he was like, yeah, I live in the middle of West Virginia. We don't get a lot of bands.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to see bands.
Right.
He's like, so I do it in my house.
That's cool, man.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh, I mean, especially like West Virginia, like coal mining country,
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
I pulled it up on a map once and I'm like, this is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though, man.
Yeah, I say you got to network. You
Yeah.
know, if you're in a band, you got to meet people and network and talk to people. And if you just go play the show and go back and sit in your van, you're missing out on a lot that's out there.
Do you have some bands that they got like get like a big head before they even hit the road or even release records? Like their expectations are of like, oh, it's supposed to come to me, and they don't really put the work into it.
I know bands like this.
Yeah.
I have a band, they great bands, super talented, and I think they're missing opportunities. Like there's just missed opportunities out there, and it's tough to play. They said like Wichita, Kansas, on a Tuesday to 20 people, and it's probably very humbling and not very fun. But that's kind of part of being in a band too. Not every show is going to be a winner.
Right.
But I'm sure it's tough. And I mean, I can't play a instrument to save my life. I can't imagine being on stage. I would be terrified. So I will always clap for any band that's on stage because I know I couldn't do it.
Right.
At least give them a little bit of support.
Yeah. You're kind of like me, so you're just a music lover.
Love me, yeah, just a big music lover.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, if 15-year-old me if I met 15-year-old me, I'd be like, no, you're going to be this age. You're still going to be going to shows all the time. You're still going to be buying band T-shirts and records. Like, life's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. Like, you imagined it and it came into fruition.
But I think you always get that like, don't grow out of it. You're gonna grow out of it, and you're like, nah.
I love it too much.
Yeah, this is my life. This is what I love doing.
Right.
Like, what am I gonna grow into?
So what are you listening to nowadays?
Oh my gosh, I listen to a lot of demos. A lot of demos. I was telling a friend like,
so you're still getting demos? Well, I'm sure it's like just email. They're not like mailing you CDs.
Occasionally, you get something.
Yeah.
You get something physically in the mail. Like I'll go to my PO box and I'm like, what the? I'm like, oh, right. People send me stuff. It's a lot of emails. And you kind of try to set aside time.
So this is a good question. So let's say a band emails you, a record company. Like, what are you expecting in the email for you to like? Okay, let me listen to this.
So you get kind of like 3 different types of emails. One that'll just have like a link to like their Bandcamp or their website, and no words, no text.
Yeah.
And one that'll be kind of some information, and it'll be a link to like a Dropbox folder full of WAV files.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be some that are written really well, photos of the band, links to videos. And I try to stress this to everyone, like, just send me a streaming link.
Mm-hmm.
And like the streaming link records go to the top of the pile. If it's like a SoundCloud link,
yeah,
because it's just easy. I can click it on. I don't have to download anything. Like you send me a Dropbox to Waves, I have to download it, and then
I hate Dropbox for some reason, man.
Yeah, I'm like, just send me a SoundCloud link,
Yeah.
and I'll stream it. Hey, tell me about your band.
Yeah.
Some highlights. Where are you from? Who you played with? Kind of.
What do you think about EPKs, like
I
electric?
wish people still did press kits. I wish people still did them. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, well, they do like electric ones now, where it's like it's a link and it will have like YouTube videos, Bandcamp,
Yeah.
links, has everything all in one. And that's what I try to tell artists is like, send a EPK or at least a Google Drive.
I was telling someone, I'm like, if you're in a band and you're interested in working with me, I'm like, you have to sell me on it.
Yeah, because I have to sell you.
Yeah, yeah, and it shows me that you're kind of serious too.
Yeah,
like you put some effort into like what you're sending me. Like you're a little more serious,
right,
than a guy that just is like, yo, listen to my demo,
right.
I was saying to someone else too. I'm like, I get messages in Instagram, on Facebook, email, somewhere TikTok, and I'm like, just send it to my email, because if it gets in Instagram or Facebook, it'll just get lost.
Yeah,
like lost in the shuffle. If it's an email, I can like highlight it. I can put it in a folder.
Yeah. And you even took the time to write me an email.
Yeah,
like you're not just copying and pasting and sending it to everybody on Instagram and their mom, and it just looks like spam. But and I feel the same way. Like if you really want to contact, if you're really trying to do some work, send me a professional email.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show me that you're serious about this.
Yeah,
I mean, I see a lot of live bands still, and I meet a lot of bands. So that's another way I, find new artists. But I do get some stuff emailed to me. I have this band that's coming out called the Pee Wees from Italy,
hmm
and they sent me a really nice email. They sent me some music. Uh, we had a really good back and forth, and at one point they were like, they're like, we're weighing our options.
yeah,
And I was like, well, look, like if I'd love to work with you, this is what I'm offering. And if it doesn't work out, I'm like, I'm still buying the record.
yeah,
Like this record's incredible.
yeah.
Like I will still play the hell out of this record. I'm like, so like, best of luck. And, I hope to hear from you. And, down the line, they're like, yeah, let's move forward. I'm like, great, let's do it.
Nice,
Like, let's do it.
nice.
Also, yeah, because then you have a relationship too.
Right.
You
Even
know,
though you never seen the person or anything, you just have that. I think that European bands, and I mean, there's some bands here in America too. That's like, but I feel like these European bands, like they're so organized and well mannered in conversation, and they are trying to make things work and sell records and get other people to listen to their
well,
records.
it's funny too because like they all want to come to the States, which
Yeah,
is awesome. Like awesome
yeah,
for us. I love that. And then I always try to remind them like the United States is really big.
yeah.
Like
It's
it's
huge.
way bigger than you like
Mm.
I can explain it and like it's way bigger than until you're driving across Texas.
Yeah,
Then you're gonna understand how big the US is.
right.
Like you're gonna be in a van for 6 hours, it's just gonna be nothing.
Yeah,
Like when I see some of my friends were touring Germany and they're like, no, like our drives were 3 hours, it was a new city, it was great, we had a great time, and I'm like, oh no, that's
you're not going nowhere in 3 hours.
yeah, yeah. Like if you do like the Northeast, you could do
Yeah,
Boston, New York, Philly, Baltimore,
yeah, yeah,
DC. Like
yeah,
that'd be easy. And then
yeah.
after Richmond, it just kind of the drives
Yeah.
get longer and longer.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So, 10 years in the game
Yes.
and the record well, you're going on 10 years. 2025 will be 10,
Yeah.
10-year anniversary. Are you planning anything big for your 10-year anniversary? Are you going to re-release some records? What is your thing?
It's funny. My wife reminded me of this last night, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm like 2025 is going to be here before I realize it.
Yeah.
We are. I'd like to do something in Atlanta.
hmm
Um, a party, an event that would just be called like Spaghetti Fest or something.
Yeah. 10-year
Um,
anniversary.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary. I'm setting aside money to
hmm
try to throw like something cool. So definitely something in Atlanta. We've talked about doing something in Mexico. Uh, there are multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Every time I go to Mexico and you meet other like rockers down there, other bands, they're so happy you're there. They're like, "Wow, you came to Mexico for this
Yeah.
thing! Like, we're so happy to see you." They love guitar rock in
Yeah.
Mexico. It's more affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more affordable,
Yeah.
and Mexico's fun. Get out of the states for a little bit. Go have a good time.
Yeah. That's a great idea, actually.
I'm going down next month to look at a venue and talk to some people, and then try to get a couple label bands to fly down. I've been
Yeah.
trying to tell them make sure your passports are in order. Like fly down, and we can do like a weekend party in Mexico. It'd be super fun.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we're not going to make money, but we're gonna have a good time.
Have you ever did a compilation record? Like, let's say, Spaghetti Town Records
I did.
presents.
I
Yeah.
did.
How many bands did you have on it?
14.
Wow.
It was with Chase Tail from
hmm
Rambler, and I don't remember. It was his idea. He was doing his party down here, the Down South Showdown,
Uh-huh.
and he wanted to put out a compilation record with all these bands. And he reached out to me, and we were friendly, but he reached out. I was like, "Would you be in?" I was like, he basically he's gonna curate it,
hmm
and I was gonna do the rest.
Right.
So he got a bunch of really cool bands to submit songs. I got Alex from Ravagers to make really cool art. I paid for it to be done, and then he had his Down South showdown, and the record showed up the day of the show.
Nice.
I remember emailing. When I emailed the plan, I'm like, I have to have this in hand
Yeah.
on this day.
So you're able to sell the records at the show.
Yeah, and the funniest part was, I think it's 14 bands, and each band has their name on the cover. It's not like a list; it's worked into the cover.
hmm
And I sent out to all the bands to keep them in the loop, and one of the bands said, "How come we're not on the cover?"
hmm
And I was like, oh no, they're not on the cover." And I've had so many spelling errors on records that I was just looking for spelling errors. And I reached out to the plant. I'm like, "Are the jackets done?" He's like, "They're done."
Oh
I
man.
was like, "What would it cost to remake them?" He told me. I was like, "Oh no, I
Yeah.
can't do that." And so I reached out to Alex, the graphic designer, and we actually worked out really well. The cover has a pinball theme,
Hmm.
and we made these foil stickers with the band's name on it that look like pinballs.
When was that dropped? When was that record dropped?
Probably 7 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, probably 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And the downside was we had to put 500 pinball stickers on 500 records in my kitchen. Like the Ravager showed up at my house, and I'm like, "Records are here. Let's put some stickers on."
Get to work.
It was like an assembly line. Actually,
Yeah.
they were it was done in like no time. I couldn't believe how well it went.
Nice.
Yeah, the compilations are fun. I really liked it, but you're again hurting. It's like the hurting cats expressions. 14 bands that you need the music, you need their picture, you need their information,
Hmm.
and you're trying to get them all on the same page, like on a hard deadline.
Would you do it again?
Of course, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
dumb. Of course, I do it again.
I mean, is it worth it to do it again, or is it more, you know, lucrative to just work with one band?
It's fun. Doing the compilation is fun. It's a lot of work, but seeing the finished product is awesome. Um, the upside too is now you, instead of having one band out there saying, "Hey, we have this record out," you have 10 bands or 12
Yeah.
bands
Talking
saying,
about
"Hey,
the same record.
hey, we have this record out." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The more people you got talking, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You should do a 10-year compilation.
I was actually thinking about doing this covers album next year, and then I realized licensing is expensive,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't want to get sued.
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm like, licensing is expensive. I don't know if the band would approve it. I'm like, and this just seems like too much of a headache before I got started.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that's how it goes.
So what happens when you sell out of records?
I do a dance. I'm really happy. Uh, I sold out of a handful, and when you sell out, you kind of have to make the decision like, am I going to get this repressed, or is it just going to live on the internet? And if you're going to get repressed, the question is like, is the band active?
Hmm.
If the band broke up already, there's
Yeah.
no reason.
Right.
Yeah, is this band going to be around for a minute? And if I make 300 more copies, like, can I like recoup? Can I at least break even?
Yeah,
So I've repressed a few things, and every time it's been a good decision.
that's good.
But yeah,
I
I
mean,
sold out of
especially
it.
if the band is on tour and stuff like that. Because
That's what it is. Like one band is regularly on tour, and they regularly like want merch.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, we're going on the road. We want to have everything we have. We want to have our 4 albums for sale.
For sure.
It looks good. You make more money on the road. Helps pay for bills on the road.
Yeah.
So
Now, throughout the years, a lot of your Blockbuster Music, a lot of record stores basically closed. How do you distribute your records to record stores and record shops?
I have a traditional record distributor out of Los Angeles.
Hmm.
So when something comes in, they will. It's like a consignment deal. They'll take a box
Yeah.
of a certain amount of records, and then they'll sell them to other retailers.
Okay.
But I've also sold them to non-traditional outlets. There's some just cool stores that sell rock and roll clothes, but also will have like some bins of records for sale.
Right.
There's a bunch of those. So you have contacts with those guys too. Most of those guys are really into music too. They're into rock.
Hmm.
So they're up to have cool records in their store.
So do they usually do a consignment deal, or do you sell them like in bulk to them?
They'll sell in bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll take 5 records or something, but you got 10 guys taking 5 records, you just move 50 real
Right.
easy.
Yeah.
Without trying that hard.
Sell one at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I love selling it. The retail rate out of my office, but
Yeah.
also it moves product, and it gets more eyeballs on it.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, those guys love music, and they'll always be like, "Have you heard this? Like, this is a cool record. Check this out." And someone's gonna say, "What's this you have playing in your store?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's this. Let me check that out.
Right. What is one of your favorite bands that you distribute?
It's funny. It's always gonna be the most recent record.
Yeah.
So I have the Pee-wees. The band's called the Pee-wees. They're from Italy, and the record's called One Ride.
Do they sing in Italian?
They sing in English.
In English, nice.
I worked with another Italian guy, and I said, "Hey, this guy Faz Waltz from the same city, or Milan," and I was like, "Hey, why don't you do a track in Italian?" I'm like, "That'd be fun." And he's like, No.
It's not gonna sell.
He's like, I don't want to. I'm like, it'll be fun. He's like, everyone knows I'm Italian. It's okay.
Yeah,
No, these guys sing in English. If you didn't tell me they were from Italy, I wouldn't even known.
yeah.
Like, it just sounds good. The music works. The record's killer. Like, I've been playing that. I've been promoting it for like 4 months leading up to its release. That is just constantly like being played.
And what is the record called?
One Ride.
One Ride.
Yeah.
That's the album, or
That's-
just a single?
That's the name of the album.
Yeah.
The new single is called Drive, and the video's cool. It was my favorite song on the record. I was waiting for it to come out. It's excellent.
Cool. I gotta see it. I gotta check it out.
Yeah. I'll have to send it over.
Yeah, so how many records of theirs have you pressed?
So that was a shared deal with 2 other labels. I took my allotment for the U.S. and then there's like it's licensed to me in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a label in Spain that does Spain. There's a label in Italy that does the rest of Europe, and then me, I do United States and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But they pressed a good chunk of records. Like when they told me the number, I was like, wow, that's a lot of records. And then I started seeing them, like they're playing big shows and
That's cool.
like they're touring Europe hard and they're like opening for cool bands or headlining cool shows.
How hard is it to get a European band here in America?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It was like earlier this year they were talking about that like the cost of visas was going up. It was already really expensive, making it really hard for band. I mean, it's expensive to fly over for starters. You probably have to rent gear, so that's expensive. You have to rent a van, that's more cost. Hotels and food, there's all that. But then the visa, it ranges because a lot of the fees are based on attorneys. It's $4,000 or $5,000 on top of it, which is really tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough for bands coming from Europe.
Yeah.
So and if you're 4 or 5 guys all carrying guitar cases and you don't have your visa, like you get turned away. You get sent back home.
Yeah, I actually had a band that emailed us for our music video show called The Cut. They were out of I think I don't want to get. I'm just gonna say Europe.
Sure.
But the band is called the COVIDs, and they were scheduled to do a tour, a North America tour, and everything. But 2 of the band members had problems at the border with their paperwork or whatever it was. So they made a song called "Banned in the USA" because they couldn't come to the USA.
Yeah.
And I mean, just even the rate exchange. I mean, if you live in one of these like little cheap European countries, and then American is expensive. I mean, to us it's kind of like normal because we know how much prices is. But for like a South American band or a European band to come to America and do a tour is going to get expensive too.
I've never even thought of that.
Especially if you don't know nobody or anything.
I've talked to bands from within Europe, and they're like, it's hard for us to tour in this region or this part of Europe. And I'm like, why? And they're like, it's expensive. Like that country is expensive.
Yeah.
Next to our country.
Yeah.
Like, we know, it costs us this much to live, and you go there like double, like food's double, food's triple, gas is higher. So that's even just within Europe.
Yeah. And like, how's the record sales like in Europe compared to how they are in America?
I mean, this is all hearsay. They're talking to people, but Europe seems to be big music. I mean, America, we buy music. We love music. Yeah. But Europe seems to really love buying music. Yeah. Like I like 45 7-inch singles, but they just don't sell that well for me. Like I'll put them out because I think they're fun, they're cool. But yeah, they're expensive, and then after you add shipping, it's expensive. And Europeans, when I talk to them, they're like, "What do you mean they don't sell well?" I'm like, "It's just not a thing. Americans just don't buy them as much."
Like the singles.
Yeah, little vinyl singles.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2 songers or 3 song.
Yeah.
Certain countries in Europe are better than other ones, but like I know Spain, for example, is crazy about rock and roll.
Right.
My friend Ravagers did Europe, and it was a lot of Germany dates, and I was like, "What's up with that?" And they're like, "They were great. Like Germans love, coming out for punk rock."
Yeah, Germany, Italy, some French towns. I know England is really big. There's a lot of bands in England.
I was we were trying to get them to go to like Scandinavia, and I was like, "That's cool. You're in Germany. Go to Scandinavia." And I was talking to Scandinavian friends, and they're like, "It's not as good here. They should stay in Germany." Yeah. They're like, "We want to play Germany." I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't know."
Yeah. And I think people would be really surprised because, there's a lot of European countries and towns and small villages that, sometimes you have to, open yourself up. I mean, like Finland, Sweden, Estonia, Austria, just I think once you're out there, just do as much shows and meet as much people and promote your songs to whoever is there to listen.
I think, yeah, I think like you said, you meet people. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, don't hide in your dressing room. Like, go out and meet people, shake hands, take pictures.
yeah,
Like, you made some guy's day that you came to their village. You
yeah,
made that person's day.
yeah,
Like, they never thought they'd see. Maybe thought they would never thought they'd see this band, nonetheless, like in their region.
right. So what's for the next 10 years of Spaghetty Town
No,
Records? Have you thought about that?
not until you just said it. It's like
Where do
10
you
years.
where do you think the music industry is going?
I mean, it seems steady and stable.
Yeah,
People are into music. People are into buying music. There's always new bands. And the trick for me, and I say this to people all the time, like I'm always trying to find new ways to reach a younger audience. And I'm not a younger person. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I reach 25 and 30-year olds being so young, but younger people.
right.
Because, if your audience is only getting older, you're not bringing in anyone new, like your band, your label, you're going to struggle.
So what is some of your ideas to market to the youth?
Dude, I had to make a TikTok. I wasn't excited about it. One day I was like, is this what I have to do? Like, I think I have to make TikTok. Like,
A lot of people downplay TikTok, but I think it's a useful tool. They do some cool
another
videos
tool.
on there.
It's another free.
You could reach 1,000 people that you've never met before throughout the whole world. So why not?
When I see the view numbers, sometimes I'm like, okay, like I guess it's worthwhile. Like, I'll take an extra 5 minutes to make some TikToks. I was even telling some bands like that, and I'm like, you don't need to do synchronized dancing or
No,
anything like that. I'm like, just like this is another media outlet.
Yeah,
Reach some people.
be creative, man.
That's the other thing. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just have some fun.
Yeah,
You don't have to be serious and look tough all the time.
exactly. Make some videos, do some, just playing on the instrument, sing a song. Like I think the whole thing with how social media is, or just media in general nowadays, it is so open for you as an individual, as a brand, as a company to venture out independently.
Yeah.
You could reach people, you could reach fans, you could reach followers. You could literally just message people.
Yeah.
Strangers out there in the world. You could really message people like, "Hey, check this out. Listen to this," and just see how it goes from there.
Yeah, no one has to have your home address to send you anything. Like, just be like, check out this stream, check out this download, check out our video.
Yeah, feed your fans. That's what I say.
Dude, that's actually the best expression. I was talking to a band. I was like, you got to post to social media. It's been months, and they're like, well, we don't have anything to post. I'm like, you guys practice once a week.
Yeah, take a fucking selfie.
Take some pictures and practice. Like, goof around. Like, but you were just in the studio. You took no pictures.
Yeah.
Like, people love that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you got to even think about the bigger bands out there or the bigger artists out there in the world. They are still posting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these bands or artists out there that are like mega stars and everything like that. Like, you don't see them sitting in the corner, not posting or not sharing. There's a free avenue for you to use to market and advertise. Please use it.
And the days of just the band being on the pedestal is kind of gone. Like, there's no curtain anymore. The curtain's down.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what you're doing all the time. Post some behind the scenes stuff. Post some goofing around. Like, it'll be all right.
And I think that's one of the things, like, from back in the day that's changed. Like, back in the day, like, people were, love for your mystery. Like, oh, the band is awesome, but they're mysterious, and we really don't know nothing about them. But throughout time, like nowadays, I feel like people want to know more about you. People want to know how you're living. People want to see all the behind the scenes stuff. People want to know more about the person making the music.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect all the time. It's okay.
Yeah.
Show the people you have the outlets.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it, and try to reach new people.
Yeah.
It's really what it is. You're trying to reach new people.
Yeah. Create some kind of content out there and just push your stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and I mean, even I know, like, sometimes when people tell me like you're on the phone too much, and I'm like, tooling around on your phone. I'm like, I got to respond to messages and sit there and like comments. Respond to emails or make content or post things. Like, it takes time. You got to do it.
Yeah.
And then you have your personal stuff.
Yeah.
On top of it. That's okay. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's part of playing the game.
Right. That's pretty cool. So with the record companies and everything like that, like, is there a lot of independent record companies like yours?
There is. No, yeah, there is. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. There is. I know a bunch of guys doing independent record labels like mine, and they're on different types of levels. And it's one of those you're going to get in, get back as much as you put in.
Hmm.
But everyone I know has the same like this is this is a lot of work. It's hard, but we love what we do. We love music. I was at a friend's house in Stockholm, Sweden, and he showed me like his spare bedroom with like all the extra stock, and I'm like, oh, I feel a little better about this now. It's not just me that's out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, and other guys I know were sharing, tips and tricks of like, I found these mailers for sale that are cheaper, or do you realize they changed this thing and the cost of shipping? You're going to want to adjust. And at the end of the day, I don't really see us as competitors. I think we're all kind of in the same boat together.
Right.
I say like when I say if it's good for the scene, it's good for us. Like it's good for all these labels.
Yeah.
It's good for all of us.
A little competition is always good.
Well, I want to, I want to sell more records, but
Yeah.
I want us to all be successful.
Right. And like you say, like you learn from one another.
I think, yeah, I was literally emailing a friend of mine in Nashville last week, and he was like, "Have you tried this shipping method?" And I was like, "I didn't know that was a thing." I'm like, "You just saved me like $10 a box."
Nice.
And like that adds up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of your methods of advertising or marketing?
It's a lot of sponsored ads.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I do like a monthly email blast, which is great. It's not hard. You have the email addresses, use them.
Mhm.
I just made the TikTok, which I'm still figuring out.
I mean, when you do the email blast, do you send them straight to your website?
So there'll always be a click through to like if I'm saying like the new Pee Wee's record's out,
Yeah.
you can pick it up here. You can watch the video
And the
here.
website is called
SpaghettyTown.com.
Nice.
So go to my website, go to my store.
Yeah. And how many records do you have available on the website?
70.
70? Nice.
In that neighborhood, it's a lot.
Yeah. And they're already pressed and ready to go.
Oh yeah.
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 Nice.
Aside from the handful of sold out stuff, like everything is ready to go.
So it's basically like an online store for your record company.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Like a friend of mine with a different label, he was like, I have so much stock at my house. He's like, I might have to open up a real brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Like just so I can sell my stock, sell distribution stuff.
Yeah.
But it seems it's be the trial, the tribulations that we all have is, when you get a whole bunch of stock in at once and you're like I have to move it, I have to sell it, I have to make space.
Yeah.
And promote it and put it in the mail and
ship it out.
Yeah, and ship it out. But that's we all love what we do, so
yeah, we're part of the game.
Yeah, we're all lucky. Like we get to promote rock and roll for fun.
Yeah, when you deal with some of these bands that don't really know anything about the music industry, they just create good music. Do you try to teach them, advise them,
Absolutely.
or you just don't look? You don't know anything. You're wasting my time.
There was an artist who he's like, I want to learn, like I want to know, and I was like, okay, I'll show you everything we're doing, and I was giving him tasks, so I'm like, you should be doing this, you should do that, and at one point he's like, you do this on every record? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is a lot. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
At one point I was like, dude, I'm like, you just got to upload everything to Bandcamp, put it on Bandcamp, He's like, well, I heard people don't use that. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, you got to use it. I'm like, get your record on Discogs. It makes it look more legit and real. Like you're going to upload it, you're going to start posting content. He's like, well, what if I don't have anything? I'm like, you find something. It doesn't matter.
I always tell bands and artists and musicians that yes, creating a record is a big deal, but that's only 10% of the industry. The creating, the music itself, the recording and everything, that's like 10%. The other 90% is advertising, marketing, and promoting, because, you could have a gold piece mastermind of work, but if nobody knows about it, then, who cares?
I had heard this random song. I was at the gym and it came on just randomly, and I was like, this song's awesome. Like this song's incredible. And I like screenshot it when I was running. And then like went home and I spent another half hour like researching it. I'm like, this is like the best song I've heard in weeks. Went and like told friends about it. But I'm like, otherwise, if this hadn't randomly come up, Like on Spotify, like, I never would have heard of this song before ever.
Yeah.
You know,
And whoever is behind that, behind the scenes of that, they worked to get that record to be played at this specific playlist or just randomly or however it is. These companies and promotions and advertisers, they push for these numbers to get up there for you to be able to hear it.
it's you can tell sometimes when the record comes out, you can they some artists think like, okay, like now we're done, and I'm like, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Like I know you've worked super hard. You've written a record, you recorded it, you crafted your image and the art, and like that's all building up to the release of it. It's out, but now we have a whole new game to play.
Yeah, the marketing and the
Yeah,
promotions and
I
everything.
mean, and it's gonna be it's a lot of work.
Do you put a lot of money into advertising and marketing and promotions and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's still some like print media outlets I'll buy advertising in.
Hmm.
Um, I believe independent print media, but
And how much of a niche market is it for like rock and roll punk bands we were talking about earlier? Like it's not this global sensation going on right now.
it's a pretty niche market.
Yeah, it's a niche market. So how do you specify though that market into this advertising?
It's kind of like would I read this magazine? That's like would
Okay.
I read this? Like I would read this. This is cool. Like and then
Mhm.
you got to figure out like you just reach out like what's it cost? And they'll happily tell you what it costs, and you kind of figure it out from there. Like can I afford that this month? Is it in my budget? I mean, I've had places where the advertising is like $75 for a little ad, and you're like, I can do $75.
Yeah.
One place hit me, it was like 800, and I'm like, I can't do
Does
$800.
it pay off?
I don't think there's an immediate return. I think it's good branding.
Hmm.
I think it's good branding. I think it's good imaging and marketing. But I don't think I see immediate sales from it. But it gets your label and whatever artist you're working with, like in someone's face.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a magazine out of the UK called Viva La Rock, which is a killer rock and roll mag. It's awesome. And a band was going to Europe once, and I said, you should buy an ad in that magazine, like a touring ad for you're going to UK. This is a cool UK rock mag. And they're like, no one reads print mag. I was like, trust me. They do. People read it, just not in the States. And they bought a print ad, and then they said they were on the road, and someone said, I saw your ad in Viva La Rock and decided to come out. And I was like, there you go.
Yeah.
There's the
It
proof.
proves. Yeah.
There's the proof that it works.
It's so different than like let's say digital marketing, right? So digital marketing, you can see all the analytics, you can see where the numbers come in,
Right.
go out, you can see how many clicks go straight to the website and so forth like that. Do you do like digital advertisement like Facebook?
I've had banners on websites before,
Mhm.
which with some success. Sponsored Facebook and Instagram ads. Yeah, I do those all the time.
Yeah,
They're easy. I mean,
yeah.
with 3 clicks, you can be running an ad.
And I mean, when you do these ads, like on Facebook, like what kind of like key terms would you use to like lure people into clicking on the link?
I realize like someone sending you their demo, you need to bring them in the first sentence or two.
Yeah,
If it's a paragraph, no, they're not reading that.
yeah,
But if you were something like I wrote one the other day for the Pee Wees, and it was like, uh, you know, Italian garage punk something, and then I had some pull quotes from some articles, from some reviews,
hmm,
and it was just simple like 8.5 out of 10, and
yeah,
I forget what they were, but I'm like I need to simplify this and have it jump out,
yeah,
so someone will see some keyword, they'll go, oh, what's this? Maybe I'll check it out.
yeah.
You know,
And what kind of feedback did you get from that ad?
it's running now.
I was running.
It was like 2 days
Yeah.
ago. I was like, I gotta run an ad for a little bit.
Do you suggest doing video ads or like the ad that you did? It was probably like a picture,
It's
and
still,
a link.
if you can do a video ad or have music,
Yeah,
if you have something like that, I think that's a little bit better too.
yeah. It's more like eye appealing to you.
I think, people respond to that a little bit better.
Yeah,
I have a harder time if I want to use music. Usually get a little flag. They'll be like, this is copyrighted material. You can't use it.
right. Yeah,
And I'm like, but this is literally what I'm trying to promote.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, if you can do video, like I said, like you can make those short videos for Reels or for TikTok or Instagram, whatever. People just sit there and doom scroll and swipe all day. But if you can have 5 seconds of music, they might dig.
Right on. Yeah. And I found out a little secret about like you said with the copyright music. Sometimes you can't post it because it's online and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I tell people to do is do the videos before the songs are actually released. You know,
Oh yeah,
start,
so it's not in the
so
system.
it's not in the system. So you start promoting it, promoting it, promoting it, and then once it's released, then they could click on it, or
It's so funny.
you get your little. A little fraction of the copyright thing or whatever.
Think-
Or like a lot of like Instagram or TikTok stuff like that, you could click on and the songs are being played in the background, or you could find songs. So what I tell bands to do is make videos to those little segments of the songs,
Yeah.
so it just matches up to what's already out there.
It was funny. Had a video I put on YouTube, like a promotional video, and we used a Ramones song in the background, and like it got flagged. Like
Yeah.
I hit like publish, and like a minute later, it's like no, you
Yeah,
can't. No.
there's not letting you.
Yeah.
You know what else I found out too is when you sign up to whatever distributor you are on,
Yeah.
whatever streaming service you use or whatever, you can opt into shared revenue.
Yes.
So I'll try to tell the bands like, don't be so greedy where you do no shared revenue, but then nobody can share your songs.
Oh yeah.
So if you share the revenue, people can share your songs, and you'll still get a piece of the cake, and your numbers will be bigger anyways.
Yeah. The more people,
Because otherwise, YouTube flags it, and you can't repost it, and so forth.
the more people you can reach, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
Getting
exactly.
getting people in front of people.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. So, Teddy Spaghetti, thank you for coming to Now Dig This.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Tell us the website again.
SpaghettyTown.com. That's spaghetti with a Y.
Yeah.
And then through there, you'll see a link to my store. There's usually some videos up.
For sure. And I'll make sure I'll put all the links and everything
Cool.
in the description of this as well, man. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.